Have you ever seen love turn into betrayal so cruel that it feels like a knife in the back? There was once an old man known in his village as kind, humble, and hard-working. He had built his life from nothing, brick by brick, sweat by sweat. His fields fed the poor, his doors were always open to strangers, and his words were respected like those of a wise elder. But his world rested on one fragile thing: his wife. She was much younger than him when she married him. The village had whispered, saying she was too beautiful for a man so old. But the old man had loved her deeply, blind to the whispers, deaf to the warnings. For years, he adored her, bringing her silks when he barely had enough for cotton, keeping her laughter above his own hunger. But love is dangerous when it is one-sided. In the corners of the house, in the shadows of the night, she grew restless. She compared her wrinkled husband to the young men of the village. Her eyes began to wander, and soon they settled on the most unexpected person, their servant. He was strong, young, with a sharp smile and sly eyes that noticed her hunger for admiration. What started as stolen glances soon became whispered words, then secret meetings. The servant played his game well. He fed her pride, made her feel young, told her she deserved better than an aging husband, and she believed him. The old man noticed the change. The warmth in her eyes faded, her words cut like glass. Where once there was laughter at the table, now there was silence heavy enough to choke him. Yet he endured. He thought, perhaps she is tired. Perhaps time will heal. One stormy evening, the old man returned home early from the market. As he stepped into his house, he froze. Before his eyes, his wife stood in the middle of the room, her arms wrapped tightly around the servant. She looked at the old man not with shame, not with fear, but with defiance. And then came the words that shattered his world. You are old, useless, and weak. This house is no longer yours. Leave. The servant smirked behind her, his eyes mocking. The old man felt the floor beneath him collapse. His chest tightened, his breath caught, yet he spoke no word. With trembling hands, he set down the basket. He carried vegetables he had bought for her dinner. The rain outside lashed against his frail body. Neighbors peeked from their windows, whispering in pity and gossip. The old man walked through the muddy streets, not knowing where to go. For the first time in his life, he had no home. That night he slept under a tree, his heart broken beyond repair. But life has strange ways of turning. The wife thought she had one. With the old man gone, she lived as if free. The servant drank from his master's wine, wore his clothes, sat in his chair. Together they mocked the memory of the old man, forgetting the sweat and years that had built that house. But greed is a beast that never sleeps. Soon the servant grew tired of her. She was not as rich as he imagined. She was no queen, just a foolish woman who betrayed her husband for empty promises. Slowly he began to distance himself. He spent her money, used her body, and when nothing was left, he abandoned her too. The woman who once stood proud now stood alone. The house that once echoed with wealth and laughter became silent, filled only with her regrets. She had betrayed the man who loved her most, only to be betrayed herself. Meanwhile, the old man, though broken, did not crumble. He worked. He wandered to a nearby town, offered his labor at the docks, then in the fields, then in a merchant store. His honesty caught the eye of a wealthy trader, who took him in like a brother. Step by step, coin by coin, he began to rebuild his life. The old man who once slept under a tree now had a roof again. The old man who once wept in the rain now rode in carriages. The old man who was mocked as weak was now a figure of strength. But what fate awaited the woman who betrayed him? That, my friends, is where the story truly begins. The years passed. The old man, once cast out into the storm, had turned his suffering into strength. A merchant who had trusted him left him in charge of business while traveling. Customers loved his honesty, and soon his name spread across towns. What he touched flourished. He bought land, caravans, even ships that crossed seas. But wealth had not changed him. He still wore simple clothes, ate humble meals, and prayed every dawn. Yet behind his quiet eyes was a fire, a reminder of the night he was betrayed. One day, as fate would write it, his caravan passed through his old village. The streets looked the same, but something was different. People whispered about the fallen queen. The woman who once ruled her house with pride now lived in shadows. Her beauty had faded, her eyes hollow. The servant who had promised her the world had stolen what little she had left and vanished. The old man's heart trembled when he heard this, but he did not stop. He had no reason to look back. Some wounds, though healed, never wished to be touched again. But destiny was not done. A grand festival was announced in the nearby city, a gathering of merchants, nobles, and leaders. The old man was invited as a guest of honor. He arrived, not as the broken figure who once left his village, but as a man draped in dignity, respected by all. Beside him was a young woman, graceful and kind, who had stood with him in his rebuilding years. She was not with him for wealth, she had seen him when he had nothing. Together they carried an aura of strength and peace. In the crowd of that very festival was his former wife. She had come not as a guest, but as a beggar, hungry, weak, and desperate. She moved among the people, hoping for a coin, a loaf of bread, even pity. But fate played its cruelest trick when her eyes fell upon the man on the stage. Her heart stopped. It was him, the man she had called useless, the man she had thrown out into the rain. But he was not the same. He was taller in pride, richer in spirit, untouchable in power. She stumbled forward, her knees giving way as she fell before him. Her voice cracked as she cried out, "Forgive me, I was blind, I was foolish. Take me back, give me one chance." The crowd gasped, eyes darting between the fallen woman and the man of honor. The old man looked down at her. His heart remembered the pain, the rain, the hunger, the humiliation. He remembered carrying vegetables for her dinner when she cast him aside. But he also remembered something else. He remembered the servant's mocking smile, the way she had chosen betrayal without hesitation. Silence stretched across the hall. Then, slowly, he bent down not to lift her up, but to whisper words only she could hear. "I gave you love when I had nothing. Now, when I have everything, you want to return? No. Love is not a coin to be spent twice." He stood, turned, and offered his hand not to her, but to the woman beside him, the one who had stayed through hardship. Together, they walked away as the hall erupted in murmurs. The wife collapsed, her tears staining the marble floor. She had traded gold for ashes, loyalty for lust, a kingdom for dust. She was left with nothing, no servant, no wealth, no husband, no respect. And the old man, he never looked back again. For the rest of his days, he lived with honor, teaching others that betrayal cannot destroy the faithful heart, it only makes it stronger. His story spread like fire, and people remembered him not as the man who was betrayed, but as the man who rose after betrayal. And that, my friends, is the truth of life. Betrayal may break you, but if you endure, it will build you into someone no one can shatter.